Before we, oh, there we go. Sorry about that. Welcome to the August 5th, 2021 Social Equity Working Group. Before we get started, I'd like to ask today's interpreter to introduce himself and walk through how to access our interpretation services for today's meeting.
Good morning. My name is Ruth Monroy, and this message will repeat in English. Este es un aviso por parte del intérprete. Para hacer uso del servicio de interpretación, por favor, desplácese a la parte inferior de la pantalla de Zoom, donde aparecen los controles, y haga clic en el icono de interpretación, que es el globo terráqueo. Seleccione Spanish, español, y si está utilizando una aplicación móvil de Zoom como celular, tableta, etc., presione los puntos suspensivos. Luego, Interpretation, y luego el idioma. This is an announcement from the interpreter. To use the Zoom interpretation feature, please scroll to the bottom of the Zoom screen where the meeting controls are and click on the interpretation icon, which is the little world. Select English as your language. If you are joining using the Zoom mobile app, like a cell phone, tablet, etc., please press the ellipses, then interpretation, and then choose your language. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you for that. And now I'd like to officially ask our clerk, Evelia Castellanos, to confirm if we have a quorum.
We have a quorum, Chairwoman Moreno.
Thank you. I'd like to review the process for both the working group members as well as members of the public who wish to speak under public comment. For working group members, when you'd like to speak, please click on the raised hand icon in the Zoom control panel. You have control of your video and mute, so please click the raised hand icon and turn on your camera when you'd like to speak, and I will call on you. Does anybody have any questions before we continue? Wonderful. Evelia, would you please provide a quick reminder on how the public comment will work?
Yes. As noted on the cover page of today's meeting agenda, in addition to emailed comments, the public also may provide live comments during today's meeting. To provide a live verbal comment during the meeting, please join the Zoom meeting either by computer or phone. At the time of the public comments, members of the public are advised to raise hand. If you wish to provide comments, the raise hand feature can be found on the Zoom toolbar for those who are joining via computer or by entering *9. For those joining via telephone only, the chair will call on members of the public by name of those joining via computer and by the last 3 digits of your telephone number. For those joining via telephone, all comments received prior to the close of the meeting will be made part of the meeting record. The instructions for providing live comments also are on the bottom of the cover page of today's meeting agenda, which can be accessed from the homepage of SANDAG's website at www.sandag.org. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now I'd like to take this opportunity for our working group members to introduce themselves, their organizations, and area of the region they serve, so that the public today joining us know who we are. So I'll start off. I'm Vivian Moreno. I'm a council member in District 8 for the city of San Diego, and I have the honor of being the chair. I'm going to hand it off to Randy Torres Van Vleck.
Thank you, Chair Moreno. My name is Randy Torres Van Vleck, Director of Policy and Planning at the City Heights Community Development Corporation. Would you like me to pass it to someone else, or are you going to do that? Okay.
Yes.
I'll go ahead and pass it to Mr. Barry Pollard.
Thanks, Randy, and good morning. This is Barry Pollard with the Urban Collaborative Project. Let me see, who is here? Kato, are you here? Then let's.
I see a little message. She says, I am.
Okay.
So let's pass it on to Miss Lisa Cuestas.
Okay, sounds good.
Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Lisa Cuestas with Casa Familiar in San Isidro. And I will pass it to Carol.
Morning, everyone. I'm Carol Lewis. I'm with the El Cajon Collaborative representing East County, and I will pass it over to Craig Jones.
Good morning, everyone. Craig Jones. I'm with the Alliance for Regional Solutions. We're a robust collaborative of 75 plus nonprofits and community organizations in North County and municipalities in North County. We generally represent North County area north of 56 and are in partnership with other CBO representatives today. And I will gladly pass it on to one of my other compatriots, Erica Leary.
Good morning, everyone. Erica Leary with Vista Community Clinic. Our work with the Sandig Regional Planning focuses mostly in Oceanside and Vista, but parts of North County as well, with partnerships with Craig and the NLRC at Cal State San Marcos. So is Anna or someone from there online?
This is Konani. I'm online.
Okay, Konani, your turn.
Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Konani Martinez, and I'm the faculty director of the National Latino Research Center at Cal State San Marcos, here with our team from North County, San Diego. And I'll pass on to Faye Seligman.
Hello, good morning. This is Faye Seligman with Operation Samahan. And we work here in National City at the South Bay region. And I'd like to pass this on to Claire from Olivewood.
Good morning, everyone. This is Claire Grebner from Olivewood Gardens and Learning Center. We represent National City and San Diego South Bay. And I will go ahead and pass this on to Brianne Lash.
Hello, I'm Brianne Lash with Nile Sisters Development Initiative. We are located in City Heights and we serve the greater San Diego County. And I'm not sure, I haven't caught up with who I'm missing. I will pass it to Mohammed Tuama.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I don't know if you can see the video. My name is Mohammed Tuama. I'm with the Newcomer Support and Development, and we're partnering with Nile Sisters, and we're covering the refugees and Middle Eastern community here in San Diego. And I'll pass it to Caro. Caro available?
I am. Thank you. Hi, good morning. My name is Carolina. I'm with the Environmental Health Coalition, and we work with communities at City Heights, National City, and Barrio Logan. And I don't know if anyone else needs to go.
I think at Chula Vista Community Collaborative. I don't know if Brenda Lee.
Yes. Yes, good morning, everybody. Sorry for the delay. I'm Brenda Lee Rodriguez from the Chula Vista Community Collaborative, and we are on the south part of the county, just 7 miles from the border.
Thank you. And I believe we need Bayside still. I don't know if Kim's available.
No, good morning. This is Rose Ceballos. I'm the Director of Programs and Operations with Bayside Community Center, and we work in the Linda Vista area of San Diego.
Wonderful. Now, I think we got everybody, but if somebody has not been introduced, if you could please speak up. All right. Is this correct? Oh, you know what? One of the other things I would like staff to introduce themselves. So Tueri, if you don't mind.
Yeah. I'm Tueri Faola. I'm a program manager here at Sandag for the Sustainable Communities Planning and Implementation team. And so I will be filling in for the role that normally Jane does, and happy to be here with you today. I will pass it over to Catherine.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Catherine Mattel. I am a regional planning intern who works directly under Jane Clough. and I will pass it on to Chris.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Chris Velasco. I am an intern directly underneath Tuari Faola.
We also have Brian Lane, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, good morning. Brian Lane, Senior Transit Planner in the Short Range Transit Planning Group. I'll pass it over to Phil.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Phil Trom. I manage the Long Range Binational Goods Movement Program here at Sandag. And I will pass it to, let's see, Avelia.
Good morning, I'm Avelia Castellanos, and I'm your clerk for today.
Wonderful. I think that wraps it up. Georgette, did you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Good morning, everyone. Georgette Gomez. I'm with Toyan Strategies, supporting Sandag with the RTP, but specifically supporting Sandag to ensure that we are advancing social equity.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Do we have any comments from the public, Avelia?
I don't see any hands raised at this moment, Chairwoman.
Thank you. We're going to move on to the next item, which is member or public comment. So if working group members have any comments or announcements of interest to the rest of the working group, please either turn on your camera or raise your hand at this time. Let's see if I don't see any. Anybody from the public, Chair?
Chair.
So just so everybody knows, members of the public have the opportunity to address the working group on any issue within the jurisdiction of Sandag that is not on this agenda. Do we have any public comments, clerk? Oh, I'm so sorry. I think I missed, here we go. Let's go to our panelists. I missed a few of you guys, so I apologize. We're gonna start with Randy Torres Van Vleck, followed by Barry Pollard. Randy, the floor is yours.
Oh, thanks, Chairman. I just wanted to highlight the fact that the MTS trolley system turned 40 years this past weekend. I went to the event. I saw a lot of faces here that were there as well. Especially projects like the Blue Line, Orange Line, Green Line, our whole trolley network has been vital for our transportation system, especially for our South Bay communities that have relied on that. That line carries 57,000 people a day. So I want to acknowledge the service that Blue Line has put in. And also just want to remind everyone about that MTS is changing their fare system from Compass Card to Pronto. So we're going to be helping out with the engagement for that. So if you have any questions, we're happy to help as well. I know that I think Urban Collaborative Project is going to be a part of that as well. So that's going to be an exciting opportunity to reduce fare costs for transit riders. So save riders money. So I just want to highlight those two major milestones.
Thank you. And followed up with Mr. Barry Pollard.
Ditto with what Randy said. That is what I was going to share with everyone. And if anyone has any other questions or need Pronto cards, either contact Randy or myself. We are trying to get that out in the community as much as possible. The good thing is that MTS is finally reaching out to the community to actually do some outreach. That's going to be for the month of August. So I think they deserve at least some acknowledgement that they're trying to adjust and be more responsive, it appears. So I wanted to add that in as well.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Let's see. Do we have any other panelists that would like to speak? Members? Seeing none. I'm going to turn it over to our clerk to see if we have any public comments. Ms. Avelia?
Yeah, we have a public comment from a community group. I don't see a name.
So to the entity that's registered as community groups, if you'd like to speak, right now is your moment. The floor is yours. sounds like they might be having some technical difficulties, or they might just have their hands raised. All right, so we're gonna move on, but to the person registered as community groups, if you'd like to, how to unmute, okay. Clerk, if you can help out community groups.
Sorry, I'm coming under the county's banner. This is Robin Joy Maxson with the Ramona Community Planning Group. I'm the chair, and I've seen the work that your group has been doing, and I believe there may be a hole in the geographic area that's being represented. I was listening to the various members in which areas they represent. We're not technically East County or North County, and I haven't seen on those entities sites that they serve Ramona. So I was wondering how Ramona, which has a 30% Latino population and 25% of our population speaks a language other than English, how we're being represented through this process. And if I could join this group, that would be wonderful. I won't come as a community planning group member again. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. And clerk, does that conclude public comment?
Yes, it does, Chairwoman Moreno.
Wonderful, thank you. Now we're gonna proceed to item number 3, which is the approval of the July 22nd meeting minutes. May I have a motion to approve the July 22nd, 2022 minutes, or if there are any changes, please right now is the time to speak up.
There was some changes first, yeah.
Wonderful.
Yes, please. This is Faith Seligman. I'm very sorry to interrupt this meeting, but I would just like to request for a minor change in the minutes. This is regarding the agency information on section 5, lifelines. Faith Seligman seconded the motion, but it was placed there that it's under the Nile Sisters Development Initiative, but I'm from Samahan Health Centers. If we can just have that corrected, I would truly appreciate it.
Wonderful, we'll make sure to make those changes. And now I see Mr. Randy Torres Van Vleck.
Thanks, Chair. Yes, I noticed two, I'd like to make 2 requests, please. I noticed that there's accidentally 2 E's in my last name, Van Vleck, Torres Van Vleck. So if we could just delete one of the E's, it's on the first few pages for item 3 from the July 22nd meeting. And also I noticed just to get the complete record for item 6, a public comment, the person who spoke for Mid-City Can, it says Mid-City, but it's Mid-City Can. That's Ariana Federico. It just has their first name on there. So I just wanted to note that. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll make sure to make those changes. Anybody else?
I just wanted to make a motion that we approve with those changes. This is Barry Pollard.
Wonderful. We have a motion by Barry Pollard. May I have a second?
This is Carol Lewis. I'll second.
All right, Carol Lewis, we got a second. Okay, so I'll call the clerk for the roll call vote, please. Clerk. And oh no, go ahead, clerk.
Alliance for Regional Solutions, Craig Jones.
As corrected, aye, yes.
Bayside Community Clinic, Rose Ceballos.
Yes.
Casa Familiar, Lisa Cuestas.
Yes.
City Heights, CDC, Randy Torres Van Vleck.
Yes.
Chula Vista Community Collaborative, Brandalay Rodriguez.
Aye.
El Cajon Collaborative, Carol Lewis.
Carol Lewis, aye.
National Latino Research Center, Conani Martinez.
NLRC, yes.
Nile Sisters Development Initiative, Brennan Lash,
Yes.
Olivewood Gardens, Claire Grosvenor,
Yes.
Samahan Health Centers, Faye Seligman,
Yes.
Urban Collaborative Project, Brian Barry Pollard,
Yes.
Vista Community Clinic, Erica Leary,
Yes.
and the motion passes with those present with the corrections made.
Wonderful, thank you. So motion passes unanimously. We're going to move on to item number 4, which is the chair's report. I want to alert you to some very exciting news addressing the digital divide within our region in a meaningful, equitable, and timely way. On July 22nd, SANDAG kicked off our efforts towards digital equity and addressing the digital divide by participating in a roundtable discussion with our partner Cisco to address developing our regional digital equity strategy and action plan. If you haven't already, I encourage everyone to participate in SANDAG's monthly regional digital divide task force meeting to make sure that your voice is heard in the near-term plans and decisions. Finally, just as a reminder, today and tomorrow are the last days to submit a public comment for the 2021 draft regional plan. In this final stretch, I urge you all to reach out to your community members to submit public comments to have your voices heard and address your needs and interests. And that concludes my chair's report. Do I have any working group members that would like to make any comments or have any questions on the chair's report? If so, please raise your hand at this time or turn on your camera, and I'll give you a few seconds. I don't see anybody. All right, so moving on. Do we have any comments from the public, clerk?
There are no hands raised, Chairwoman Moreno.
Wonderful. Okay, so moving on, item number 5. At our last meeting, members of the Transportation Equity Working Group from San Diego shared a set of proposals, the 10 Transit Lifelines, for inclusion in the regional plan that they have submitted to SANDAG's board and have been discussing with staff. Today, we're continuing our own discussion and sharing feedback from our communities of these proposals. So we have here today Tueri Fa'aola from SANDAG, who will help facilitate this conversation. Tueri, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Chair Moreno. So good morning, everyone. It's really a pleasure to be here with you today and to be able to talk about what are the things that you're hearing from your communities and that you would like to have a discussion amongst the Social Equity Working Group. And I'm going to be taking notes, and really what we thought we would do with this item is make it a bit of a round robin. I will go through each of our representatives from the working group to let you have a chance to share what is important from your community that you've been hearing. As our chair said it was actually last month, but just a couple of weeks ago, we had the Environmental Health Coalition as well as several other of our community-based organizations that came and presented on the 10 Transit Lifelines. They've also sent a letter with those lifelines identified to staff, as well as it was sent to the board. And so they wanted to bring those forward and discuss it with the working group. And we heard from you that you would all like to have more time to talk about what are the important things for each and every one of your individual communities. So we want to do this a little workshop style. And since we're not in person and I can't do a flipboard, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to just take some notes here via a Word document and just share with me anything that you'd like us to put down. And certainly we're going to let this be a little free flow and making sure that we're hearing from each and every one of you. So I'm going to go ahead and get my screen ready to share. And Catherine, I believe this is going to stop you from sharing, FYI. And we're going to start off with Craig from Alliance for Regional Solutions, but just give me a moment here to make sure I'm sharing the right screen with you. Okay, hopefully you are all seeing my screen. I can't see head nods, but I assume if you're not, you'll speak up.
It is up.
Perfect. And I hope that if it's not large enough for anyone to see, please let me know. I know sometimes we're working on laptops, and so it's a little smaller. But Craig, would you like to kick it off and tell us what you have in terms of things you'd like to share. And before you begin, I should also just note, we did just put briefly here what were the 10 transit lifelines that were brought forward. And, you know, City Heights, the build environment team also sent a list of priority items that they have identified for their community that they sent to us. And I believe that they may want to discuss. So we've put it here if it's helpful for anyone to see.
Thank you very much, Tuere. You know, we had a robust discussion on this at our last meeting, and there's been a considerable amount of community discussion on this item since then in preparation for today. I want to observe that the Transportation Equity Working Group has done, I think, a great job representing their specific community's interests. Many of these 10 items are specific to their particular geographic community areas. Several of the items would be generic as a positive that I see for the entire region. I think it should be clarified that these items are not inclusive of all geographic area community interests. And I know in the North County, particularly representing my interest to represent North County, what I see particularly important for North County are rapid implementation of fleets, the fleets element of the 5 big moves, and a really robust implementation of next-gen rapid bus service. I think those two things together, particularly for North County, are going to be the most important things for providing transportation for underserved communities there. I would, you know, welcome support for these 10 items, the 10 transit lifelines, with clarification that other community geographic areas also have their concerns, and for the North County, the ones that I mentioned, if that makes sense.
Thank you, Craig. Yes, that makes sense. And I have some other staff helping me to type. So if you don't see the words typing as quickly, we're getting it in there. There's a few of us will be typing on a shared document. Okay, so could we, I'm sorry, Craig, actually, was that concluding your comments?
Yes, that is. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So if we could move on to Bayside, or Brinley, you have your hand raised actually.
Oh, I didn't. So then we're going to go by order, then I'll wait my turn.
Okay, yeah, I just thought that this is, it would just be efficient. That way I could make sure everyone's going. But if Bayside is willing to let you go first, I'm welcome to let you go first as well.
That would be fine.
Okay, we'll go with Bayside and we'll go in order. Everyone will get a chance to speak.
Okay, great. All right, thank you so much. All right, well, we held a few public comment sessions here with our community members. A good majority were senior citizens, very, very vocal. We're very much in favor of the youth passes, but also voice for senior passes, because many of our seniors are very low income. Also requested that the bus stops be safer, maybe have more lighting, also shades and seating, because many did not have those adequate seating for them, you know, to wait to get to their destinations. Also 24/7 transit for our blue collar workers, because it seems that the buses after a certain time, they don't run as often. And we do have quite a bit of people that work in the hospitality business, whether it's down, you know, by the beach area or downtown, Mission Valley, that need to get back into the area. So those seem to be the ones that were most prevalent.
Thank you. And really quick to staff, Chris, if you could capture those. When I tried typing, I think we were typing at the same time, and it wasn't allowing me to type.
Will do. Copy that.
Okay. So Chris will start populating those, and then if at any point you don't see it on the screen, let us know and we'll go back and add it. Okay, so moving on to Casa Familiar.
Hello, thank you. Let me share my video. So we want to also provide our support, strong support of the 10 Transit Lifelines with real enthusiasm behind the youth opportunity passes and wanting to highlight that bathroom and enhancements, particularly to the San Isidro Port, close to the San Isidro Port of Entry bathroom, is currently a very distasteful design that needs to be improved, which we've been vocal about with MTS before. And with those lifelines, I want to emphasize that timelines and prioritization in our communities of concern is something that we want to strongly recommend. And given the unexpected and kind of focus on the San Isidro Mobility Hub plan and dollars for that we would like to see an added group and focus group engagement piece with more than just Casa Familiar. It should engage business, it should engage other nonprofit organizations like San Isidro Health, riders that cross the border, riders that are from San Isidro but don't always cross the border. And I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Lisa. Okay, Randy, City Heights CDC. And we did, Randy, here. Thank you so much for the letter that you sent, your team sent last night on behalf of the Build Environment team. We put these here in case there were any that you wanted us to populate into the list. But take it away, Randy.
Thanks, Tori. It would be okay if I go later. I'd love to hear more from other partners first. Yeah,
that's totally fine. All right, we'll move on to Brenda Lee with Chula Vista Community Collaborative.
Yes, hi. We support these, in particular, the youth opportunity passes, but I also wanted, well, definitely the, for access and for the internships and early career opportunities, we're having interns here, and that's also applies to them. But one also item to consider is regarding the monthly passes, and I'm not that familiar with the changes coming up, but if the monthly passes could be bought in advance, like in other cities, as far as I know, and maybe somebody can correct me, when you buy the monthly pass is valid on that month. But for example, with us, we will have to, in terms of supporting our families, we have to then every month go and buy for that. But let's say I have a sponsorship opportunity now of a larger amount of money. I want to be able to use it because I have to report back to the sponsor that I did use the money for the bus passes for my for the families we serve. But I cannot like buy them in bulk in that way and use that money and close that and have the passes with us for distribution on a longer term. So that is something that now with the Pronto cards, I really wanted to see that, but I don't know the details yet. But that ability for CBOs like us that provide that kind of support and have to plan in advance and have our budget requirements, that will be very helpful. So we don't have to go every month and get those for those that receive our assistance.
Thank you so much. And I just got a note from staff that they believe that the Pronto actually will help with that. So we're certainly happy to follow up with you with more additional information if you'd like to have a conversation with staff on how that changes.
Is that for a CBO then to get in bulk a given number, and then we will individually distribute our FRCs. That's kind of what I was thinking.
Brenda Lay, this is Barry.
Hi, Barry.
Hi, Randy's group and us can probably help you and even get MTS to speak to your group about the possibility of longer term purchasing of those cards. So you can get in touch with either of us. They seem to be really listening to us right now. So now's the opportunity to, if you've got any special requests like that, we could get them in front of you guys probably very easily. Okay? All right.
Could I just add, I'm sorry, this is Georgette. I'll just piggyback to what Barry offered to follow up with you, Brenda Lee. I think it might be good, and in the future, if time allows it, maybe bring MTS. I'm sure that they'll be happy to come and really share, and also North County, NCTD, to share the pronto and how it's going to work and not, because it might be beneficial for everybody.
Yep, I agree.
Thank you for that. I just want to interject and make sure that we stay on track on what we're focused on the agenda item. Happy to speak to anybody and follow up.
Thank you, Chair Moreno. And thank you, Brenda Lee, for your comments. So we'll certainly note that here, and it seems you have a bunch of people who are willing to follow up with you. Okay, so if I can go to Carol Lewis with the El Cajon Collaborative.
I thank you very much for hearing our concerns and our thoughts in El Cajon and East County. We have had a couple of focus groups in the last couple of days, one in Spanish, one in Arabic. So along with hearing from our other public, it was nice to be able to really just sit and listen to what their needs were. And I feel a little bit more prepared this meeting than I did last meeting. And I really heard that shelter and housing near transit centers is really foremost on their minds, low income housing, so that they can access transportation, because in El Cajon, both of our transit centers are both in industrial areas. Neither of them are in residential areas, so they don't really serve residents. And also because of that, they would like to see more flexible fleet options, including a shuttle to get them around and to and from the transit center. And then the fear of using the transit is because of language barriers and because they don't see enough security on transit. So language is always a concern, especially with our Arabic population, speaking population. And then just the sense of security and visible security, so that they know that they have someone watching out for them when taking public transportation, or a way to contact security. We talked about an app on the phone that we could push a button if somebody felt threatened in any way on their transit trip, and could access security at the next stop. And then also the youth, yeah, they really want their kids to be able to access colleges and universities via transit. So they thought youth opportunity passes were a great idea.
Thank you, Carol. Does that conclude the comments you wanted to make?
Uh-huh.
Perfect. Thank you so much, and really appreciate you taking the time to reach out to your community. All right, National Latino Research Center, Kanani.
Thank you. I just wanted to reflect on the 10 presented and just echo everybody's support of most of these being relevant to North County, most especially number 2 and number 10. I think thinking about an emergency transit system is important, especially in rural areas near the reservation lands, for example, where we have a lot of both Native and Latino communities that in times of wildfire or any other emergencies have trouble moving out of the area. And then of course, an improved bus system is something important to North County. I wanted to bring up 3 other items I think that could be included in, if not these 10, but at least in the plan. One would be the presence of Border Patrol or ICE and the increased police surveillance for immigrant communities, which is seen as a threat, and then a deterrent to using public transportation because of this heightened surveillance, if not fully uniformed immigration officers. There's often these very suspicious looking black vehicles which are unmarked that people feel intimidated by. So that's a very important one, I think, in North County especially. A second point would be better access to all of these. And I think that the passes make sense. The information that's bilingual makes sense, as other people have already sort of stated. And also just access to e-bikes and other forms of transportation that people might not be aware of. I think most of us improve our utilization of these sorts of alternative forms of transportation by actually being able to use them and find out what they are, just like Uber and all these other services are growing in popularity because I think more people have access to them. And finally, I wanted to point out that I haven't seen much discussion of connections to Orange County and Southern Riverside County. I know there's people who commute from San Diego to Temecula, for example, that sit in hours and hours of traffic to return to Temecula and to get into San Diego. And I would like to see some discussion on cooperation with these counties to talk about perhaps a special bus that has a special lane going up to Temecula, for example, that would cut off a lot of commuting time. And I know there's a lot of people who live up in that area that come down this way to work. So I'd like to see more discussion of cooperating with these counties to ensure a smoother commute. Because there's so many people who cannot afford to live in San Diego that commute from Temecula. And I've even spoken to people who live in Tijuana that commute all the way to Temecula daily and cross the border. So that's hours and hours of commuting time. So I think that discussion with these counties would be important as well. So those are my 3 suggestions in addition to the support for the 10 that we've seen so far.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so moving on to Brianne with the Nile Sisters Development, or Mohammed, if you guys would both like to speak, please feel free.
Hi, yes. So I guess some of our concerns, again, to kind of echo what Carol Lewis had mentioned, language barriers for us, which again is a big use of why our clients end up using their personal vehicles and not necessarily relying on public transit. That also goes into having improved frequencies that also include late night and weekend service. We do work with a vocational training program that has evening courses and morning courses. And so understanding that a lot of our clients look for transportation needs surrounding that. So, surrounding more access. And one thing that I know that we're definitely would like to know more about is the anti-displacement strategies, because again, going back to Carol's point of shelter and housing near transit centers, how are these upgrades going to impact what that looks like and a possibility of displacement for a lot of our families. And I had another note as well, so I apologize. Oh, and again, with language access in terms of the iOS capacity, making sure that it's, tracking bus times and route, things like that, if there's availability to have those in additional languages that are frequent in City Heights.
Yeah, hello, and this is Mohammed Tuama. I'm talking about the refugees and the Middle Eastern. So one of the things that we found out is a lot of them is living in East County, but they work very up in North County. Like this is one of the longest commute they do because they have like basic jobs they can find there. And we even debated the benefit of actually moving on to North County, of driving every day. One of the things that we discussed is almost all MTS's flyers and education of how to use the transit, even the ones they done in Arabic, they're not practical. We showed the videos, we showed everything that is used by MTS to show how to use the transit. It is not practical. We played the video twice, and they said, okay, but it's not totally related of how actually we can learn how to use transit. So we just gave up on MTS. We asked many times, and the last time MTS went to, I don't know who to do the translate. So I would suggest if SANDAG can put something that they can reach out to the community themselves to actually translate or explain to the newcomers community how the public transit work.
Okay, thank you, Mohammed and Brianne. Okay, so Nile Sisters. Or I'm sorry, we just finished Nile Sisters, apologies. Olivewood Gardens with Claire.
I'm going to have Rosina share as she has some of the comment cards from our community.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. Well, we have the opportunity to have Rosina Lizarraga from Olivewood Gardens. We had the opportunity to have a in-person in-person event collecting those comment cards, and we got several results that my colleagues here in the group had already mentioned. But I'm going to rehash some of the concerns that our particular community is facing. One of them is the actual facilitation for transportation for seniors. I've been mentioned it several times. It's a real issue. They're requesting effective transportation, especially in paratransit and amenities for the Bay Area connections. And there were several comments that we collected like 35 because it was a very limited space for them to be commenting between time loss that we had on the event. But most likely the bike lane connectivity unfinished, that is not well done in the community. It's uncompleted. Safety lighting, especially at dark hours for working communities that they commute or work during the day, and they due to amenities during the nighttime, especially on the hours that are not well lit. So it's been an issue constantly since several years ago. The pedestrians' safety, they don't feel safe when they walk through, even though we are a walkable community, they don't feel safe when they're walking on the streets because of the infrastructure. Some of them, they recall that they are fare, the cost of the fare is not affordable versus the use of the convenient a personal car. So this is something that is ongoing. The ability that they have for incomplete bike lanes, as I mentioned before, they requested also something that they particularly nobody has mentioned, the homelessness issue that we have and we face every day in our community, especially in regards to connectivity. They don't feel safe when they walk because this issue needs to be approached by the local communities. I don't think National City is isolated on this issue, on this particular underserved communities. So the transportation, it's very neglected somehow because we have just a pole with the sign of the bus. There's no shelter whatsoever. People is facing it, they're seeing it, and there's no safe to go. Some of them are unexistent benches, unexistent shelter for them. So it would be something that we need to approach. Nobody has done it before, and I don't think it's isolated from community from another ones in the county. And also the language barriers is being facing it now, and the schedule is not accessible, and they need more extended hours from the transportation to another communities. And we are particularly located in a community that is in the middle of accessing to all the job locations and amenities to the Bay, and they don't have accessibility to that. So it's something that we need to approach in the local communities, but it affects the regional connections. So far, that's all that haven't been mentioned before. So thank you so much for that. And I will send all those comment cards to the SANDAG staff so they can review by and physical paper. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rosina. Okay, so Faye, Samahan Health Center.
Well, hi, good morning. This is Faye Seligman with Samahan Health Center. So before I start, I just want to commend the group for doing a great job, because I think historically, this is the first time that we've established a real community-driven grassroots level framework that we can start with and then bring to SANDAG staff and so they can like refine and, you know, make it work. So here are some of the things that I'd like to share, more specifically on planning, particularly on the purple line. I would like to suggest that we do a micro level analysis on social benefits of how the low income communities can really benefit from this project. Because as we know, on a macro level, we can really see that there's movement, but we have to also understand how our low income communities per se, let's say National City, will specifically benefit from this. So I would like to suggest some items to be included in planning, including remuneration resulting from job loss, because when you exchange the road for transportation, you're going to displace or take away the businesses that were there before. So you're exchanging that. And so there's always this social cost and benefit analysis, but we want to really sandbag to create specifically what are the gains? What can the people really, our community can really get from this project? So one is the remuneration from job loss, the other infusion of resources so that we don't move away, or we don't get hurt from this project, and creating the proper infrastructure that will allow us to thrive and not be lost in this movement. So those are the things that we'd like to suggest regarding the purple line, more on the planning stage. And here are items that were shared with us, and it's been an informal discussion with some members of friends that I know here in National City. They also would like to have some improvement on the waiting sheds, because for protection on rain and all these things, and also access for seniors and those with disabilities. So that's my suggestion or input for this project.
Thank you. And then Faye, would you mind telling me the one that you said right before you said the access for seniors and our
improvement on the waiting sheds, because some of the waiting, you know, waiting, WAITING.
Bus stops.
Okay. Bus stops, yes, bus stops. So some of them do not have cover or canopy, and it's so hot, and when it's raining, they're not protected.
Okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you, Faye. Barry.
Good morning, and thank you so much, you guys, for spending the time to drill down into each community. That has drastically been lacking, and it's been, I mean, I think on everybody's forefront, except I guess last meeting it brought it to a head. So I thank you for that. A couple things. Transit hub at Euclid and Federal. I mean, Euclid and Market. There seems to be a huge service gap between offering different services, mobility services. I think it's up north and then it jumps down to Chula Vista. So I really strongly, you guys, urge that we have a full-blown hub at that site. There's a tremendous amount of construction going on that's going to dump a whole lot of people into that area, right centered around the transit area. We've got the county putting in a building that's going to consolidate their services into one building on the corner of Euclid and Market. And that's going to generate a lot of activity in that transportation center we have now. In addition to, there's already more affordable housing units coming up on Euclid. And I'm strongly, so you could put some asterisks behind that to area if you can. Trolley crossing improvements at that area, orange line improvements, numerous traffic calming projects that are needed throughout our entire community. We can give you specific locations, but I just want to put that on the radar screen now, so when it gets time, we can probably drill down and give you some specifics. Youth passes, of course, very, very, very important. Electric buses for our community. We've been high recipients of pollution for decades, including the pilot program. We would like to be like first in line among our other community members that are suffering from the same pollution, if you will. This one is growing to be even more important the more people I talk to, and that is, you guys, education on transportation use. More so ongoing, PSAs, a campaign. It seems like the transportation industry in general comes when there's an issue, comes when there's a money kind of thing, comes in the frontal campaign when you need us to vote. And we want to bred this into our culture. So it's not just an as needed. There needs to be a review of the marketing budget for transportation, not only with, you know, SANDAG, I'm talking about MTS, I'm talking about just transportation in general. We did that survey with CARB, and you guys, the number one issue, the number one by far, was education. These folks don't have an understanding of the transportation that's available to them, the different transportation modes. I mean, it's like they're in a huge non-information silo. And that is very, very, very important. And that's not only short-term, that is moving forward. Increase the budget into the process moving forward, because the more we do, the more we're going to want them to know. So, you know, we can have the best services in the world, and if these folks in these underserved, poor, underserviced communities, if we don't know about it, it's not going to get used. That has to be a critical, more of a critical element in the process. And I'm going to shut up after that. Okay,
Thank you so much.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Thank you. Thank you for great comments. Okay, so then moving on to Erica Leary with Vista Community Clinic, and then after that, we'll go back up to Randy, and I believe that's our last community-based organization.
Good
So,
morning.
Erica,
Thank you
good morning.
for the opportunity. And I hope I capture the comments that Carmela Munoz has shared with me, because she is really our connection to the community residents that we work with up here in North County. Several things to reiterate from comments made by my colleagues, especially around bus stops. So that really should be, I would think, kind of standard practice to make bus stops safe and protective of people who use transit. So we have stops up here that are in gravel gutters with a pole in the road and no protection from traffic. So all bus stops should have shelter, should have a bench, and our residents would also like a trash can at bus shelters. Also supportive in general of the 10 lifelines, especially those that are regional in nature. Supportive of the youth opportunity passes, but our residents also have concerns about affordability in general, not just for youth, but for families that need transportation to get around. We've heard concerns about the canceling of the express bus that used to run between Oceanside and Escondido that was quicker than the Sprinter. There are comments also about bumping up the Sprinter frequency before 2050. So currently it's every 30 minutes. Many of our residents, especially students, that use it for college would like to see that frequency increased sooner than 2050. Let's see. There are concerns about the 78 improvements as well, and trying to get that managed lane done as soon as possible. And as was mentioned by others before, about displacement and figuring out the concerns about gentrification. And once these programs and policies and the built environment are improved, that the residents that they are designed to help don't get driven out of the communities where they've lived for many years. And hopefully Carmela would be allowed to raise her hand and add to that when we're done if I've missed anything.
Certainly. And Craig, I see you have your hand raised. Do you have something quick to add, or can we go to Randy and come back to you?
Just to add, I would like to hear from Carmela too, but I want to support the comments that Konani and Erica have made relative to North County. Before, when I talked about next gen rapid bus service being very important, Erica noted very correctly that we need to have an alternative to the travel time that the Sprinter has from going east to west. And hopefully Next Gen Rapid would do that. If we're really going to compete with the use of the private automobile, then something quicker than the Sprinter to get to east to west needs to happen. The Sprinter takes about an hour to go between Oceanside and Escondido. And that's would improve somewhat with the proposed draft RTP, but it's not enough. So I'd like to see what is currently planned for Next Gen Rapid for North County to be improved better. Right now, what I see doesn't really improve on that east-west travel time much beyond what the Sprinter could do. So we need to get that down to more in the route of a half hour as opposed to an hour. Thank you for Kanani and Erica making the observations that you made. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. Okay, if we can go to Randy, last but certainly not least.
Oh, I think Carmela was going to share. I think Vista Community Clinic was still delivering their comments.
Okay.
I think it's just, oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, perfect, go ahead.
I think Erica covered everything, but I think I just want to share something about the Sprinter. I think the Sprinter is scheduled to improve frequency by 2035, but what they said is that I think they need the project to be accomplished sooner, and also I think it's planned to be extended to the North County Mall in Escondido until 2050, and I think they said that they would like to see this project to be implemented sooner. I think those are the comments. And one more comment about the express bus. I think they said that it was well used, and they see that is needed in the community, because I think many people were using the bus to go to Vista or Escondido, and I think now it is not in place anymore. I think pretty much that's it. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Carmela, and apologies for skipping over you. Okay, Randy, if you'd like to jump in here.
Yeah, thanks to Ari. Thanks everyone for sharing. Really appreciate this conversation to elevate regional priorities that you've heard from your communities. Yeah, I agree with everything that was shared. Our community group that we work with in City Heights is called the City Heights Build Environment Team, and we just submitted a letter last night for the regional plan. Thanks to Ari for including that. And I'll try to summarize some of the priorities that we haven't heard because we agree with everything that was shared. But generally, the Built Environment Team, and along with City Heights CDC, really believes that we need to create a dignified, equitable, efficient and affordable transportation system in our region. To do that, we need, some of the things that weren't mentioned quite as strongly as the 24-hour transit on major routes. We know that there's a high demand for that. Early phasing of projects, so trying to reduce the timeline of projects that are critical. We can't wait decades for the change. We really need to try to get projects like the Purple Line built by 2030 or 2035 at the latest. So exploring that. The third track for the Blue Line is really going to be key to have the express service and the 24-hour service that the 57,000 people who use the Blue Line every day pre-COVID deserve, and our communities deserve, in our South Bay and urban core communities. Hot days like this remind us about the importance of shade and being able to cool down. Having trees, mature trees that are planted near bus stops and shelters is important. And equitable access to the beach through gentrification and displacement. Our environmental justice communities are losing access to the beach more and more. And so we need to look at multimodal access to the beach for everyone. And start to track that as well. I'd love to see that modeled in the regional plan. I don't think that was modeled this run, but I'd love to have that modeled so we can have data on that. Just adding a little bit more to the anti-displacement strategies on gentrification. Erica did bring that up, but just wanted to state that we definitely support that. At Sandag, I know we've worked with Tueri on a proposal for that. So we'd love to continue that, because making sure that our residents who advocate for these projects can continue to afford to live in their communities to benefit from the projects is going to be key. And then finally, just continuing to invest in meaningful community engagement in the regional planning process. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Randy. Okay, so I believe that concludes our working group members. We have a hand raised from Carol Lewis. Were there additional things that you wanted to add?
Yeah, thank you. There was, upon reflection, I think the primary one we heard was that El Cajon, East County, has been underserved for a very long time. Our streets are very aging, so they wanted to make sure that as funding comes down, that it's focused in East region as well. So it's not a forgotten thing, because many of our streets are in really bad conditions, and they say that as pedestrians, which a lot of our refugee populations are walking more than we've ever seen in the past. Street crossing is very dangerous in our community. So they want to make sure that street improvements happen in El Cajon.
Okay. All right, so I believe we've gone through everyone. Chair Moreno, would you be okay if we asked Caro from Environmental Health Coalition to chime in as well, since they brought the 10 transit lifelines at the last meeting?
Yeah, Tuari, that will be fine. And just for the panelists, we do have one more item that we need to get through. And also remember, next up is for the public to speak on this particular item. I want to give them ample time to speak on it. So Caro, if you can go ahead and if you'd like to make comments.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. Just in case there's someone that doesn't know who I am, my name is Carolina. I'm with the Environmental Health Coalition. We work with communities in City Heights, National City, and Barrio Logan. And we're also part of the San Diego Transportation Equity Working Group, which is composed of the Center for Policy Initiatives, City Heights CDC, Mid-City CAN, and San Diego 350, with allied organizations, the Urban Collaborative and Casa Familia. And I really appreciate this conversation, and I think it's a perfect example of how planning should be. I know that Environmental Health Coalition and our allied organizations, some of our allied organizations
could be very articulated and have all the capacity to provide very formal letters and comments. But unfortunately, not everyone does that, have that capacity. And this is an example of how we get the best feedback from all the communities. And it doesn't need to be all clean and articulated and thought out. I think as planners, as a planner myself, and those that are working with government agencies, there should be a responsibility in providing answers and solutions and identifying mechanisms of how to best get this feedback and incorporate it. So it's really cool that that as a result of a conversation last time, this is what is coming out. It's a perfect example of how planning should happen, open mic, not all like clean and put together. So congratulations to all of us for advancing a process like this that is so genuine. So I just want to speak to the priorities that our community members have been working and advancing for some years now. Just to summarize, and I really appreciate everyone that has expressed support for the 10 Transit Lifelines. I want to articulate that this is something that is community-based, where we spend a lot of time with our communities, asking them what was a priority. It was also a collaboration with many different partners. And so that we definitely want to see that our communities see benefits now. Our communities have been neglected for many years. And so the investments need to be prioritized and demonstrated to be happening by 2025. We need a clear set of deliverables to our communities. The youth opportunity path that everyone is elevating so clearly is an urgency. Bus services need to be every 10 minutes. We're seeing that it is a huge opportunity because it doesn't require bringing concrete. So just imagine if the region delivered 2,000 brand new buses to the region tomorrow. Our region will change overnight. And that's something that can happen if we choose to. Yes, it will take some money, but it will take building and breaking concrete. So the next one is the Blue Line Express. We all know how highly it's used, and it's not very clearly outlined in the plan. It should be a piece of infrastructure that's taken into the future. The fifth one is 24-hour service, as elevated by many. Our people work different hours. Our people don't work 8 to 5. And so we need to connect them to transit. The Purple Line needs to go through communities like City Heights and service our communities. We need to ensure that the bus fleet is transformed into being electric fairly soon. The heat waves are here. Climate crises are here. It's real. And COVID just gave us a taste of what we're about to face. And we need to get serious about reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Our eighth ask is anti-displacement that everyone is elevating. Housing and transportation should be combined. When we think about connection, we need to connect housing and transit fairly soon. If we really want to address the climate crisis, bathrooms, it is unfortunate that we are in 2021 and we have to ask for basic infrastructure like bathrooms.
Shadow, I apologize that I'm interrupting you, but we do have a hard stop at 12 o'clock.
Okay.
If you could wrap it up in a few minutes.
I will. And the last one is an emergency ready transit system that a colleague elevated in the East County. Yes, that's pretty basic too. And the good thing is that we see a lot of this as that could be done by 2025 and that are regional. And so we really appreciate everyone's support. And I would want to articulate that it would be really beneficial, since this conversation has gone so well, for us to say all of this asks, including the ones that people listed, should be advanced as our recommendations from the Social Equity Working Group to the Sandag Board, to ensure all of this is actually articulated in the regional plan, because it is a way of being proactive and articulating solutions for our communities that the Sandag Board should be representing. So I will conclude it with that. I'm really grateful for this opportunity. And anything that I'm forgetting? Oh, well, that we're collecting sign-ons that we're submitting to the Sandag board tomorrow. So if your organization wants to sign on to the 10 Transit Lifelines, go for it. We've collected about 20 organizational sign-ons. And so feel free to reach me, and we're happy to have you here join us and echo this message. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Caro. We are going to move on to public comments. So for members of the public, if you could raise your hand, and I want to take a few seconds to let the committee know that this is your committee. So if you would like to make a motion, if you would like to vote on this, I would strongly recommend that we do. And I strongly would also recommend for a unanimous vote. So we have 7 members of the public with their hands raised. We are not going to limit your time, but I do want you to be please mindful of the time. There is a chance that the second item will not be heard today. So we are going to start with Mars Services, followed by Maritza Garcia, and then we're gonna have Jose Franco Garcia speak. So Mars Services, Inc., the floor is yours.
Hi, I couldn't change my name for some reason somehow. My name is Gina Yamut. I'm a resident of San Diego County, and I'm a professional in the area of sustainability and water resources. And thank you so much for the platform and having this opportunity. This is an amazing work everyone is doing. What I want to be an advocate because I didn't hear it mentioned for green infrastructure. Sandag has this unique position in San Diego County to play a role, and that especially that we know that in a couple of years, when the city of San Diego is going to go to pursue the stormwater measure, it is going to be very specific to the city, and there's no way for one reason or another to access to give support to the other cities. And I don't know what the County of San Diego's plans are. So I just kind of want to emphasize that with all those humongous, amazing projects that Sandag has in place, there's a great opportunity to incorporate green infrastructure with all the benefit that we know they bring to the communities, as basic as making communities walkable, increasing their walkability rates for seniors and seniors' health, to the increase in GPA and high school graduation levels. I mean, as well as the obvious ones like when applicable, groundwater recharge, as well as, improving water quality, decreasing speeds of traveling of cars, etc. So and the urban heat effect, of course. So yay to green infrastructure, if Sandag can incorporate that as part of the equity, and they do tend to be lacking more in areas of low income. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So we have 9 people with their hands raised. I am going to limit conversation to 2 minutes apiece, which will take us to 20 minutes. So I will have the timer, and we're going to go with Maritza Garcia, followed by Jose Franco Garcia. The floor is yours, Ms. Garcia.
Hello, my name is Maritza Garcia, and I'll be talking about the electrifying of the bus fleet. So I've lived here in Logan Heights my whole life, and our neighborhood has so many amazing things to offer, and I love them all, but unfortunately, we're most known for the immense amount of pollution we are forced to live in. There's so many contributors to this pollution that it's impossible to ignore, because even on the clearest of days, we're reminded by the constant haze of smog in our sky. And this is really infuriating to know that we have to live this way, because it puts a huge strain on both our health and our wallets of the community members. My mom struggled with breathing problems most of her adult life and has even endured 2 surgeries in relation to those issues with no permanent success. Growing up, many of my schoolmates would miss out on physical activities because they had asthma or other health issues that had prohibited them from being active. And I'm fully aware that this issue can't be fixed overnight. We do have a long way to go, but we can work every day to change the factors contributing to the problem. There's a lot of bus routes that pass through our neighborhood, and each one adds to the pollution we have. By electrifying our bus fleet, we can change that negative factor into a positive one and start reducing the pollution we face daily. So I urge you to please tell the Sandag board to incorporate electric buses in our other 9 transit lifelines. Thank you for the time and have a great day.
Sherry, you were muted.
Oh, I apologize. We're going to follow up with Jose Franco Garcia, followed by Ali F, and then Sally Small. Mr. Jose Franco Garcia, the floor is yours.
Hi, thank you for your time. This is Jose Franco Garcia. I'm with Environmental Health Coalition, and I wanted to give testimony today about the 10 transit lifelines and really supporting that. Looking through those, looking through that list, I know it's not, there's a lot on that list and a lot of very important items. But so many things around transit are so important, right? As I heard many things brought up today, I was nodding my head along as I heard a lot of it, right? But the things that are here on the 10 transit lifelines have been things that I've heard from community members as it's come up, whether it's 24-hour service, whether it's getting things, the bus stops and things like that, and things like bringing in tree canopy or shade around making bus stops and transit stations more comfortable, restrooms, all of that, everything on here I definitely see how important it is and wanted to support that. Wanted to just dig a little bit deeper about the anti-displacement strategy when it comes to Sandag. Sandag has a lot of authority as a regional planning mechanism, as a regional planning authority, and being able to look at this holistically and really think about the entire plan and what that means. One of the great things about transit and what the potential could be is getting people where they need to be, and seeing places where that is planned out, where you see affordable housing or other affordable homes to buy near transit stations, near places where people can where it helps people get to jobs, to essential services. It's so crucial and such an important thing. So as we do this planning and as Sandag moves forward with this, putting in a comprehensive, holistic plan to make sure that people are not displaced and we're not, making these transit accessible, and we're not making transit more accessible and more effective for people who can no longer live, and moving people out and having people no longer live there near those transits. So I wanted to reiterate that it's going to be an important strategy as we move forward and continue to plan to make this a great, transit plan for this region. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ali F, followed by Sally Small. Ali, the floor is yours. Ali F, if you could hear us, if you could unmute yourself.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Good morning. My name is Ali Fenn, and I'm a community organizer with Environmental Health Coalition. I'll be talking about restroom access. I'm sure I don't have to tell you the lack of bathrooms in our public transit stations is not only a health issue, but an equity issue as well. Because since there are almost never any public bathrooms at our transit stops, we have essentially put an extremely basic human right behind a paywall. Because without these bathrooms, people have to go hunt for nearby public establishments with restrooms, but these are generally for customers only, meaning people have to be able to afford to buy something in order to relieve themselves. Or if there are no places with bathrooms close by, I've heard of folks in case of an emergency calling an expensive Uber in order to make it home in time before they, or God forbid, a small child that's with them has an accident. And that's not fair. That's money that they shouldn't need to spend, that they may need to feed their families or pay rent that month. So I really hope you'll please tell the Sandag board to support funding bathrooms in our major transit stations along with our other 9 transit lifelines. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Sally Small, followed by Nicole Burgess. Sally, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Wanted to say yes to the 10 transit lifelines. I very much agree with what Barry Pollard said regarding the Euclid and Market spot with the, the Southeastern Livewell Center coming, along with other changes to the traffic routes there. The trolley crossing is also an issue as it is now, and it'll take a long time for us to get that fixed up. Youth opportunity passes are desperately needed in our area. We definitely need the electric bus pilot to come to our area. We'd love to have 7-day-a-week service for our buses. In my neighborhood, it only is Monday through Friday and Saturday with a short bus, so I can't even go shopping, let alone hitting a restroom, which is always rough. We do need trees and benches at all of our stops now, between the increased senior population coming up along with disabled. That's a definite need for us. I'd like to thank you for your time and your energy that you're all putting into this, because it does make a difference if we keep shouting. Thanks.
Thank you. We're going to move on to Nicole Burgess, followed by Nancy Cruz. Nicole, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair Moreno. I appreciate the time, and I really commend all of you and the organizations that are here today in getting the community.
Does that conclude your comments? I'm sorry, does that conclude your comments, Nicole Burgess? Okay. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna move on to Nancy Cruz, and then followed by Laura Benavidez. Nicole, if you could hear me, just keep your hand up and we'll call on you after. So Nicole Cruz, the floor is yours. All right.
Hello.
Got you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Nancy Cruz, and I'm a San Diego resident in District 8. I'm in support of the 10 Transit Lifelines. As a teen, I used to use public transportation to get around, but as I transitioned to full-time work, I realized that utilizing public transportation was not sustainable. As traffic continues to increase and I learn more about how it impacts the environment, I am interested in supporting transit initiatives that allow for investing in public transportation that can help to improve commute times and also impacts to the environment. Rapid buses and short-time wait times, I think would be two great ways to improve, but I think that all the 10 transit lifelines are things that are overdue and needed in my community. I appreciate the work that you all are doing and look forward to making the 10 transit lifelines a reality to enhance our lives and the environment in San Diego. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're gonna go to Laura Benavidez, followed by Carla.
Hello, my name is Laura Benavidez. I'm a community organizer with the Environmental Health Coalition, and I've lived in the 4th District for 35 years. I've been with EHC for 3 years, almost 3 years, and for all of that time, we have been working on these priorities. So I want to speak to you as a community organizer. For all the time that I've been working with the organization, we have been doing community meetings, petitions, workshops, and as leaders in your own communities, you know how much labor goes into that. Today, I'm asking you to support the 10 Lifelines because it was a community-driven process created by people that actually use transit. And so I really ask for your support. The feedback was great, but I don't want to leave it there. I want you as a group to take action and make a motion and vote on it for it to be recommended and implemented into the regional plan. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Benavidez. We're gonna go to Carla, followed by Esperanza Gonzalez. Carla, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. My name is Carla Monsivais, and I'll be talking about bus service every 10 minutes. So I reside in Barrio Logan, and riding the trolley was the only option for me when commuting to SDSU because my family doesn't have enough cars. The trolley would
Carla, we're having trouble hearing you. So what I'm gonna do is can you hear us, Carla? If somebody can mute her, we'll give her a chance to go back on the line. So we're gonna move on to—
take a while to arrive, and later throughout the day, the waiting times
Carla,
increase.
can you hear us? Okay, so Carla, if you could hear us, please keep your hand up. We're having issues hearing you, so if you can get into maybe a better area of your home, we're gonna move on to Esperanza, or you can go to Chicano Park, there's free Wi-Fi. Esperanza Gonzalez, followed by Jack Shu. Carla, your hand is still gonna be there, okay? Go ahead, Esperanza Gonzalez, the floor is yours.
Para abrir. ¿Sí me escuchan? Sí.
Sí lo escuchamos.
Sí, buenos días. Bueno, mi nombre es Esperanza González y soy residente de City Heights y promotora de la Coalición de Salud Ambiental. Bueno, he vivido por más de 30 años aquí en City Heights y yo siempre uso el transporte público. El problema aquí que no se ha mejorado mucho, por ejemplo, San Diego es una ciudad turística con demasiados hoteles, una zona grande de hotelera. Y por cuestión de transporte, las 24 horas, muchas personas no acuden, no van a trabajar. Ese es un gran problema. Entonces, les pido que mejoren el servicio las 24 horas, no que la mejoren, que pongan servicio las 24 horas, que sea una prioridad de los 10 puntos. Yo sé de muchas historias de personas por la cual no se pueden trasladar, no buscan un trabajo estable que tenga sus 8 horas porque no hay transporte público las 24 horas. Entonces, es necesario que se haga una mejora. Hace unos días, el domingo pasado, un matrimonio estaba ahí en la plaza de Da Grove, angustiados porque su bus no llegaba, era el 836 y te querían alcanzar el 115 y decían, y si no lo alcanzamos, nos vamos a ir caminando desde San Diego State hasta San Carlos. Eso sí es una angustia para unas personas que son adultas, ¿verdad? Entonces, por favor, prioridades a que pongan servicio las 24 horas. Muchísimas gracias por su tiempo.
Muchas gracias, señora González. And for the folks who, we do have interpretation services available. So we're gonna move on to Mr. Jack Shu, followed by Roddy Jerome. Mr. Shu, the floor, I'm sorry, Councilmember Shu, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Councilmember Moreno. I want to be real quick, 15 seconds. First, thank you all. Obviously, I'm not hearing enough comments at the Sandag board, so I wanted to hear all these comments at this meeting. So thank you so much for doing this and making your comments and advocating for equity. I want to also remind you to think big, think economic justice, as well as something better than our current trolley system. Let's think about door-to-door service. Let's think about virtual bus stops. We can do a lot better than what we have now, and we need it sooner. So please keep your advocacy going. Thank you so much for all of your leadership, all of you participating in this. I hear you. I want to hear more of you, and we're going to move forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Council Member. We're going to move on to Roddy Jerome, followed by Maria Magdalena Cerda Baez. Oh, I don't see, it sounds like we're going to move on to Ms. Maria Magdalena Cerda Baez.
Otra vez, no puedo.
Por favor, si puede continuar.
¿Ya me oye? Okay.
Ya la escuchamos, gracias.
Entonces, yo también trabajo para la Coalición de Salud Ambiental, pero este tema es personal para mí. Vivo en Imperial Beach, aquí fue donde, viviendo aquí, tuvieron que ir mis hijos a la universidad. Y de todos los compañeros de mis hijos, de mis 3 hijos, ninguno terminó la universidad más que mis muchachos. Y lo que yo recuerdo es que la mayor dificultad que enfrentamos fue el transporte. Todos mis hijos tuvieron que comprar carro para poder ir a la universidad. Los otros muchachos no tuvieron ese privilegio. Entonces, lo que yo veo en mi comunidad es que el transporte pasa casi cada 30 minutos. Los camiones son enormes y casi siempre están vacíos solo en las horas pico. Creo que ahí necesitamos cambiar el tipo de vehículo de acuerdo al horario. Esos enormes camiones cada 30 minutos no sirven de mucho. La otra, no, las rutas no cubren toda la zona, solo hay un circuito por el que pasan y esto no ayuda, ¿no?, a la conectividad. Entonces, la cuestión del transporte en Imperial Beach ha hecho que tengamos un bajísimo nivel de escolaridad o de éxito en las universidades para nuestros jóvenes. Mis hijos ya son grandes, pero ahora tengo nietos y viven aquí y espero que en un tiempo no muy lejano ellos puedan estar en la universidad y puedan lograrlo sin tener que comprar otro carro más para la familia. Entonces, gracias por la oportunidad. Estoy muy esperanzada de que este proyecto realmente beneficie a Imperial Beach y a todos los jóvenes.
Gracias, señora Cerda Baez. And for people who would like the translation, you need to click the world icon and select English to hear the translation and vice versa for Spanish. So we're going to move on to Nicole Burgess, followed by Carla.
Thank you, Chair Moreno. I hope you can hear me now.
We can.
I really want to just give kudos to this group and thank you all for raising your voice and for these priorities for equity and transit in your communities and with your community members. I support all of your comments and improvements to these efforts. I just want to elevate, I am a board member of Bike SD. I use my bike for transportation and I understand community members. It's really, really hard to advocate for bikes if you have no idea that it's an option. So I just want to elevate that active transportation is extremely important as part of this new RTP. Increasing transit ridership 7 to 12 times when we actually provide access by bike, door-to-door mobility is what we're really looking at. I don't personally want to walk 15 minutes home in the dark, but I will gladly hop on a bike and get home in 2 minutes safely. But that first mile, last mile connections to transit is extremely important and valuable. And that education component that Barry speaks about is so important to allow our residents in these communities to know that this is a viable option. It's a great option. It's good for health, your physical, mental well-being. And so just on improved bus shelters, I completely agree. And I really would like to advocate for little mini mobility hubs and for our transit to integrate our bike share, our e-bikes, as Conan mentioned. We can have, 6 little bike shares at each one of these bus shelters with a solar panel that provides shade. And, then you have an option. I definitely support youth opportunity passes, 24-hour service, and improved bus frequency for all your residents. But the barriers that active transportation, from City Heights to downtown is a simple 5-mile ride, but you just can't get across the I-15 and across some of those major corridors. So really I hope your group can really, thank you, Randy, for elevating some of those bike improvements, but we really need to address these as part of the RTP as well. So thank you for your time and appreciate the time to comment.
Thank you so much. So let's try Carla, followed by Roddy Jerome. Carla, the floor is yours.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Absolutely.
Hi, so like I mentioned, I'll be talking about the bus service every 10 minutes. So as mentioned earlier, I would ride the trolley to SDSU, but the waiting times would increase as the day passed by. So if you missed your bus stop, I would have to wait half an hour or more for the next trolley to arrive. And that made me feel unsafe and it was very unpleasant, especially going back home after a long day of classes, just back to back. So by the time I made it home, it was pretty late. And riding the trolley to SDSU takes more than an hour compared to a 15-minute drive by car. So if a bus system was implemented to increase the frequency and accessibility of transportation, people like myself would get to their destinations much quicker and ensure the safety of those getting home late. And it's not only about, getting home safely and faster, but it's also about the minimal time we spend with friends or family because of the long waiting transit times. It's unfair for individuals to lose precious time simply because we don't have a vehicle. So the least we ask for is to get to our destination as quickly as possible because time is valuable. So if you could please tell SANDAG board to incorporate our 10 transit lifelines, I would really appreciate it. Thank you for hearing me out.
Thank you, Carla. We could hear you perfectly. So we're gonna try Roddy Jerome. The floor is yours. So
yes. My name is Roddy Jerome. I'm a member of the Environmental Health Coalition's Community Action Team in City Heights. I also sit with the Built Environment Team, and I support the 10 Transit Lifelines as well as the Built Environment Team's requests. I wanted to emphasize bathroom network and the importance of it. I've been riding transit for over 30 years now, and I couldn't tell you how many times I've had emergencies where I had to run home, from the trolley station to make it. And one time I had to interrupt the school that was near me because I wasn't gonna make it at home. But so I just wanted to emphasize, the bathroom network is very important, especially as I'm getting older. It's harder to maintain. So, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, so that concludes our public comment period. I'm now going to turn it over back to the committee members. We're not going to limit your time, but just wanted to let everybody know that we do have a hard stop at 12 o'clock. And we are going to start with Miss Lisa, followed by Kunani, and then Craig. Lisa, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I think both Craig and I were eager to make a motion to approve support of the 10 Transit Lifelines with all of the other recommendations that were provided today by the Social Equity Working Group to be integrated into the regional plan.
Lisa, was that a motion?
It was a motion.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So we got a motion on the floor. Let's follow up with Kunani.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I just wanted to add official comments to our NLRC comments. I was brought to my attention that we forgot one key aspect of what the community had given us as far as feedback, and that is the issue of accountability, and that both SANDAG and the county are accountable to all of the feedback and forums and communications that they've gotten from the community, that they are now going to follow up with those recommendations. And
I believe,
I'm sorry.
There you go. Keep on going.
So the idea is that the county and SANDAG would be accountable to the feedback they've received and follow up with the community, and then also actually follow through and be accountable for all the changes that have been proposed to them.
Does that conclude your comments?
Yes, thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. Craig Jones, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. I want to second the motion, recognizing that it incorporates the additional points made. And hopefully that'll include Kanani's additional comments as well. So I second the motion.
Wonderful. So we have a motion on the floor with the second. Absolutely, we did add Kunani's comments. Additional comments. Any other board members or committee members wishing to be recognized? No? Okay, so we have a motion on the floor with the second. I would just like to thank everybody for this discussion. The public, the committee, very much appreciate all the input that was provided. You do have a SANDAG that's listening, and I think this meeting today is a testament of that. So with that, Evelia, if you could please do a roll call.
Councilman Moreno, can we read the motion one more time, please?
Absolutely. If you guys can put up, if staff could put up the motion, please. Or Lisa, if you'd like to reiterate the motion.
Yes, I think it's correct the way it's approved support of the 10 transit lifelines and all of the other recommendations from the social equity working group for inclusion in the regional plan. That looks correct to me, with the addition of the final comments made by Kanani.
Wonderful, thank you so much. And Craig, does that sound right to you as a seconder of the motion?
Yes, thank you.
Wonderful, thank you so much. Any other questions or comments regarding the motion on the floor? If not, we're going to take it up to a vote. Hearing none, Ms. Avelia, if you would please do the roll call.
Yes. Alliance for Regional Solution, Craig Jones.
Yes.
Bayside Community Clinic, Rose Ceballos.
Yes.
Casa Familiar, Lisa Cuestas.
Yes.
City Heights, CDC, Randy Torres Van Vleck.
Yes.
Chula Vista Community Collaborative, Brandalay Rodriguez.
Yes.
El Cajon Collaborative, Carol Lewis.
Okay, El Cajon Collaborative, yes.
Thank you. National Latino Research Center, Conani Martinez.
Yes.
Thank you. Nile Sisters Development Initiative, Brianne Lash.
Yes.
Olivewood Gardens, Claire Globner.
Yes.
Samahan Health Centers, Faye Seltman.
Yes.
Urban Collaborative Project, Brian Barry Pollard.
Yes.
Thank you. Vista Community Clinic, Erica Leary.
Yes.
And the motion passes unanimously.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Wonderful. So just for the record, motion passes unanimously. Thank you, everyone. And regarding item number 6, we will not be hearing item number 6 today, but staff will send the social equity working group members an email to provide options to connect with staff and discuss the phase project within the 2021 regional plan. So we're going to move on to the next item, which is possible topics for the next meeting. So our next meeting is in September. And items that we have on the agenda is the environmental impact report for the 2021 regional plan. It's going to be released later this month for public comment. So we are going to have that as a discussion item in the September meeting. Also, SANDAG staff could come back to this working group with an update on options for considerations for the Equity Early Action Pilot Project. Your recommendations are going to go to the Transportation Committee and then the board. And last, based on our conversation, there has been a request for MTS to come as an informational item to give us an update on the Pronto initiative. So with that being said, obviously you always can contact me to let me know, or are there any other suggestions for future meetings from the board, or I'm sorry, from the committee? Okay, and I am gonna limit everybody to 1 minute because we have 10 minutes left. So Kunani, followed by Barry, followed by Erica. Go ahead, Kunani.
Yes, I was just wondering if we'll have a chance to get any information on the feedback that was submitted through the comment period by September, or is that going to happen more formally later on? All the public comments.
If you could take that question.
Yeah, they will be responded to more formally through the public comment. So we'll provide that as part of the plan, the final plan.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Barry, followed by Erica.
Yeah, hi, thanks. I just wanted to, in addition to MTS talking about Pronto, it sounds like that MTS needs to hear from our communities and our CBOs about improvement. So maybe something similar that we did here, we can give it right to specifically with MTS related issues, cleanliness, increase the time, shelters over the bus stops. and hear from individual communities so they know it's just not Sandag lumping everything together. It might have a little more impact if they hear it directly from us. Thank you again.
Absolutely. Erica, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So I wasn't sure if my comment in the chat was misconstrued as requesting a presentation on the Pronto system. I certainly don't object to that, but if we do that, I would also like NCTD to participate, but I was in the chat really asking for an NCTD contact to reach out to do community presentations about the Pronto system up here in our communities. So if my colleagues would like the presentation here at this meeting, I don't object to that, but I was specifically looking for ways to inform our community about the Pronto system, since it's underway and will be implemented soon.
And Chair, if you don't mind, Erica, we'll send you that NCTD contact directly to you. We have the information.
Right, thank you very much.
And thank you, Erica, for bringing that up. As a reminder to everybody, the chat is not formally recorded. So therefore, any comments or questions are better are much better to be done speaking. So we don't take the chat. The chat is for technical issues. And so thank you for that, Erica. We are going to move on to the next item. I don't see any other members wishing to be recognized at this moment. So our next meeting is going to be rescheduled from September 2nd to September 23rd at 10 a.m. I've wanted to hold our meetings in our communities and have asked staff to work with all of you and see who might be able to host our September meeting, obviously considering that everything is still open and that the variant hasn't taken over, the Delta variant. If not, we're going to meet at the Sandag offices. So any questions or comments from working group members on this item in particular? Okay, any comments or questions regarding upcoming meeting? I don't see any. So thank you all for making the time. We are officially adjourned at 11:54 a.m. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you, Chair Moreno.
Thank you for the robust discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Good job.
Yay! We did it.
Thank you.
Bye.